Coach. How you doing?
You had a whole summer everything to install, and now it's on to game planning. I guess how different is this week than what you guys have been doing the last couple months?
Well, it's not much different the way Pete runs this. So every day we have a situation, whether it be red zone, coming out, third down, something that's central to the theme of that day in training. So we've been game planning. Obviously, we've been going against our defense in those situations, and now it's an opportunity to go against Braves and what he's going to do. So that part's different, but we've been preparing for scenarios that are going to occur in the game all, since we got here. OTAs were based on the same exact thing. So, but it is a different opponent, and it counts. So that's the biggest thing that we're excited about.
Obviously, you expect the guys to get better and better and more well-versed with your playbook every day. How do you feel they are right now heading into week one?
They're doing great. I think part of it leads from Gino, because Gino's been around. He's played for a lot of coaches. He's been in the league for a while. There's been a lot of collaboration with him. He's got a great point of view in terms of the game of football. He's as smart a guy as I've ever been around playing the game. So, really excited about what he feels comfortable in, and that's what this deal is when we're going into these games, is what do our players feel comfortable in, because it really doesn't matter what we know, because we're not playing the game. It's really how does Gino feel in terms of the game plan, and he has a lot of input on it, and so we'll kind of roll from there.
For you as a coach, what's the difference feel being coaching on the sideline and coaching in the booth?
That's a great question. I think you can see the game better from the booth, and I think you can feel the game better from the sideline. So, I think sometimes you can't tell that, hey, that corner looks like there's something wrong with him because he's in front of you and you're watching him. He looks like he's limping a little bit. You may not see it. It's a little bit more sanitized when you're up top. You're just kind of seeing how they're deployed. Is it a 7-man spacing or 8-man spacing with the front? What are they playing coverage-wise? Are the corners playing inside leverage, outside leverage? Sometimes when you're on the field, you can't see the leverage of the corner on the other side. He looks like he's 6 or 7 yards off, but is he inside or outside? So I've always felt like that. I think you can see the game better from up top, but I think you can feel the game better from the field.
Chip, we've seen Dante Thornton, really come on strong this whole time since he's been here and carve out a starting role for himself. How much have you seen him grow just from the time that you met him in OTAs to now as you're getting ready for week one?
Yeah, I think he was a good product coming in, and obviously our personnel department, and really Pete was the guy that kind of fell in love with him watching the tape, and felt the same thing. As I said earlier, there aren't many people that tall and long that are that fast, but I've seen him really embrace every day, and just, I don't think he was thinking about starting or anything. He was just thinking about coming here every day. He got in the building. Can I be a little bit better today than I was yesterday? And you saw him grow on a daily basis. Now, obviously, the next jump is he's played in 3 preseason games, but the preseason games and the regular season games are different. But I expect, and I think he expects, and I think everybody here expects for him to play really well on Sunday, because we always believe that you're going to play on Sunday the way you train, and I think he trains at a really high level right now.
Chip, it's been 9 years since you coached on an NFL sideline. How exciting is that for you personally to be back on that? And then how much do you think the game's evolved?
The game's definitely evolved. I think that's a great question. And the first part, I'm really excited. The one thing about the NFL is it's the best in the world. And then go against Mike Vrabel coach team. Mike did an unbelievable job when he was at Tennessee. He's a defensive guy. His teams are always going to be really well prepared. And so we got to work it out for him. And that's the beauty of it. It's competition at the highest in the game I love. So, I'm excited to see how our players go perform.
Chip, you guys have brought in Amari Cooper, and looks like that's no longer on the table. Does that change anything, or was he here not long enough?
Well, I feel, because he's a talented player now, but he called Pete this morning, had a good conversation with Pete, and I think he's just done playing, but you could still see the talent was there. But we still have today, Thursday, Friday, Saturday's practice session before we have to finalize who was up and who was down, and we hadn't made any final decisions on was he going to play in the first game or not in the first game. He was training with us and got reps and all those other things, but it was a matter of, usually I think for everybody, you're not making your final 46-man roster or 48-man roster until Saturday anyway, so we hadn't had any discussions. We said we were going to go through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we determined who was up and who was down. So, it's unfortunate, because I think the world of him. I think he's a heck of a football player. He's had a heck of an NFL career, but he knows in his heart what he wants to do. So I wish him the best. I've always been a big fan of his.
Outside of Jacoby, this is a young wide
Yeah,
receiver group.
Yeah.
That's probably good and bad, whatever, all those things. But how do you feel about the young wide receiver?
I feel good. And I think part of it for me, my comfort level as a coach is Gino is there. So having a veteran quarterback, I think if you had maybe a bunch of young wideouts and a young guy pulling the trigger. You got a rookie at the running back spot. You know, that's a little bit different. But I think the fact that Gino's there, you know, that Jacoby's there. Jacoby, you know, has got a lot of reps, and then there's a lot of experience at the tight end spot. So we feel pretty good about some positions, but the other guys, you know, that's what this league is. You know, there's going to be certain spots where no one's totally set in their depth at every position and got veterans playing everywhere. It just doesn't happen that way. There's some positions you feel really good about. Other ones you feel good, but you're not sure until you get them in a game. And so that's what I'm excited about. Those young guys getting a chance to go play in a game.
Talk about the trust that Gino brings. You've been working with him obviously this whole offseason. Out behind him, those guys that just got here.
Yeah.
And obviously the plan is Gino just be healthy and play the whole game. But how comfortable are you going into the game knowing that you haven't had those guys very long behind him?
No, that's just the NFL. You know, that's just the way it works. Obviously, losing Aiden, who had experience in what we were doing because he was here too, all of OTAs and everything in the offseason. You know, losing him in that Cardinal game hurt. But Kenny's played in games. That's the one thing you feel comfortable with Kenny is that he's played in games. Now he's still learning the terminology. He's worked extremely hard, but he's got varsity. I mean, he's got NFL reps underneath his belt. So, you know, if that has to go, then we have a plan when Kenny goes in the game. What he feels comfortable in and what our offense is going to be. But you know, if we can keep Gino upright, then that would be a good thing for us.
Obviously, the
Sure, how-
Patriots.
Sorry, yes.
Obviously, the Patriots have a new staff, but what sticks out to you about the front seven that they have on defense there?
Yeah, really formal. I think that there may be 9 new starters on their defense. You know, so a couple of Barmore was there before. Milton Williams is coming off a Super Bowl. Harold Landry is a player that everybody in this league knows about. So I think the strength of their defense is going to be that front seven, and that's what you got to be prepared for. But the game of football is always one up front. You know, it's a battle of the offensive lines and the defensive lines in this league. And when you're really solid at, you got a shot. So I think that battle between our O line and that front is going to really tell you what's going to go on in this football game.
I know you guys
Sorry,
a little
that's it.
You can let us
a little bit light on the number of receivers on the roster right now. Obviously, you have guys in the practice squad, but how beneficial is it to have as deep of a tight end room as you do and be able to use 12 personnel, 13 personnel?
Well, it's the same. I mean, we'll have 5 or 6 guys active on game day, just like the Patriots will have 5 or 6 guys active. So there's not there's nobody in this league that's going in with 8 or 9 receivers on game day. It's just the way the NFL roster is. So we're gonna have the same amount of receivers as everybody else. It's I think a couple of our receivers don't have as much experience, but there's other people play places like that. I know. You look at the Patriots roster; they've got some young guys that made it at the wide receiver spot. They got some young guys that made it at the running back spot. So, that's this league. There's such a churn on the rosters for everybody in this league, whether you're the Raiders or the Patriots or whomever. Very rarely are you sitting pat on where you are in terms of who you got. You can just look at the game tonight. That team that the Eagles are the defending Super Bowl champs, but that defense is drastically different than the team that won the Super Bowl for them. You talk about the Cowboys and you're talking about Micah. Well, all of a sudden Micah's not there, and that picture changed. So that's just the NFL. So it's what teams can groove over the 17 game season that you play, and who can stay healthy. That's the other part that's a big thing in this league. The attrition part of this league is a real big deal as you go. So the one thing I think we feel real confident in our group is that besides Aiden and Lonnie, we've got everybody that started camp with us that was here for the roster. We had to add Kenny and we had to add a guy on defense, but besides that, the guys that were here through the spring and went through all of the summer with us are the guys we're going to go to battle with, and we're excited about that.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, thanks guys.
Thank you. Have a good one.